Okay, so 9.3, graphing parabolas in factored form. It says quick review. So this is just review, nothing new. Solve by factoring. So if you remember, we will get our two factors, put them in parentheses, set them equal to 0. So we'd have to separate those x's. Since we have this minus sign right there, what does that mean as far as signs in our parentheses? Right, plus minus. And then we have this 12. So what are factors of 12? Right, we have 6 and 2, 4 and 3. Well, 4 and 3, if we were to do minus 4 and plus 3, if we were to check that, right, we would go negative 4 times x is negative 4x. Then plus 3x, that would give us that negative 1x. So we'd use those. Now we set each factor equal to 0. And we get our x values. So we have x equals positive 4, x equals negative 3. Now this was just on your quiz that you just did. So hopefully you're seeing this and seeing, oh, I did it right. Yay. Okay, now it says use your calculator. So you're going to pull out your calculator, your graphing calculator. If you don't have one, share with the person next to you. Or at least just let them look over and see your calculator. But go ahead, everyone open their calculators. And you're going to go up to the top left to y equals. And you will enter in x squared. So go to y equals first. Now you will enter in x squared minus x minus 12. So we're going to put this, so we can solve number 1 by factoring, but we can also solve it by graphing it. So we're going to see that on the calculator right now. So once you put it in, you have x squared minus x minus 12. And then you press graph at the top right. So once you get that whole equation in, you go to y equals, enter x squared minus x minus 12. So you will enter in what is right here. I'm just going to highlight it so you guys can see it. And then once you get that, then you're going to press graph. So we're going to clear that out. Okay, now that we have that graphed, you're going to look at your graph right here. It looks something like this, right? You have that, oh, not like that. Let's use a pen. So you have this x and y axis, so your y and x. And then you have your parabola that looks something like this. And yours goes off the screen, but that's fine. And I want you to notice, where does that parabola cross the x-axis? Go ahead and look closely and see. If you look closely, you will see that it crosses at negative 3 and positive 4. Yes?
The final, isn't that...
So it's saying what are the x-intercepts? They are negative 3 and 4. So how do the x-intercepts of the parabola, right, of this graph, compare to the solutions we found by factoring? What do we notice? Right, they are the same. So let's write that down. They are the same. So whether you factor it or you graph it, you will get the same x-intercepts. X will equal the same thing, whether you graph it or factor it. So solving an equation means finding zeros. Those are also your x's. Your x-intercepts, which are also your x's. And roots, which are also your x's, right? So you need to know this terminology right here that I just underlined. You can even highlight it if you have a highlighter, use a color. You need to know this terminology. All of that means the same thing. You're solving for x. So if it says find the zeros, all you're doing is finding x. Find the x-intercepts, you're just finding x. Find the roots, you're just finding x. So let's go ahead and use this terminology a little bit right here. It says, without using a calculator, find the, and let's underline this, x-intercepts, or highlight it. Highlight it, underline it, circle it if you'd like to. So I'm going to circle it, x-intercepts. Okay, so let's go ahead and find the x-intercepts. And again, this is our solution to the problem. What is x? We don't know what x is. So we have y equals x squared plus 7x minus 8. So let's go ahead and factor it. Get our factors here, set it equal to 0. Separate those x's. Then we have that minus, which means we have a plus and minus. And then factors of 8, well, I know are 8 and 1, plus 8 and minus 1, because I have this negative 1x, which is negative 1, plus 8x, so that would give me 7x. Now we can go ahead and solve x equals negative 8, x equals positive 1. So I have my two x's here. How did I get that? All I did was set each factor equal to 0 and solved for x. Okay, so we are finding the x-intercepts without a calculator. Right here, letter B, let's do the same thing. Let's go ahead, get our two factors, set those equal to 0. So we have to have factors of 15, which we know are 1 and 15 and 3 and 5. So we're going to use the factors closest together. So I have my 5x and my 3x. Then I need factors of 30, 1 and 30, 3 and 10, and 5 and 6. Now we can immediately go to the factors closest together, but we need to see that they need to add up to 41. Do you see that right there? So let's try 3 and 10 for sake of time. We know we have a plus and minus, so plus 3 minus 10. And then we can check this to make sure we're correct. That's 3 times 3x is 9x. 5x times negative 10. Sorry. We have negative 50x. So negative 50 plus 9. That gives us that negative 41x. So we are going to use those factors. Now we need to set those factors equal to 0. I'm going to erase this so that way there we go. Okay, now let's set our factors equal to 0. So we have our 5x plus 3 equals 0. And then our 3x minus 10 equals 0. And then we solve for x. So minus 3 minus 3. So go ahead and solve for x and see if we get the same thing. So, okay, you should get x equals negative 3 over 5 and x equals 10 over 3. Okay, now let's go to the next part. I'm going to erase that right there. Okay, so now it says without using a calculator, find the roots. Well, what are roots? Well, all that means is what? X. So we are going to find x. So let's go ahead and do this. Find the roots. So we're going to do the same thing. Without a calculator, we can't graph it, but we can factor it, right? We can get the factors here. So what are some factors of 24? We have 6 and 4, 8 and 3. I'm going to use 6 and 4. So 6x and 4x. And then factors of 1. Well, that's pretty easy, right? 1 times 1. Now to get for x, or solve for x, what do I need to do with each factor? Right, set it equal to 0. 6x plus 1 equals 0. 4x plus 1 equals 0. All right, go ahead and solve and see if we get the same answer for x. Okay, you should get x equals negative 1 over 6 and x equals negative 1 over 4. Let's do the same for b. Let's go ahead and get our factors here. So we have our factors of 2, which are 2 and 1. So there's our 2 and our 1. Then we know we will have a plus or and minus. And then factors of 1, pretty easy. Now let's go ahead and set each factor equal to 0. And solve for x. You should get x equals negative 1/2 and x equals 1. So if we were to graph this, where would this parabola, let's see, with this equation right here, if we were to graph this parabola right here, where would this parabola cross the x-axis? It will cross at negative 1/2 and at 1. Okay? Now let's go ahead and take that same idea and let's put it down. Let's put down some, oops, what's going on here? Let's go ahead and put down some information here. Graphing parabolas using factored form. First, you find the roots. Number 2, axis of symmetry is in the middle. And then, here, I'm going to fix that because it looks like it's separated. Okay, use AOS to find your vertex. Okay, so let's go ahead and use this information right here. Graphing parabolas using factored form. So again, we're factoring here. Last time we used our standard form. This time we're using factored form. So if you look at that sheet I passed out earlier, we're in the middle part that says factored form. Okay, so y equals x squared minus 4x plus 3. So we will use factored form, so that means we need to find our factors here. So we have x, we have that plus, so that means we use that minus in both parentheses. And then we have our factors of 3 and 1. So here we have x equals positive 3 and x equals positive 1. So those are our factors. So those factors, guess what? Those are our x-intercepts, right? That's what we just found when we used our calculators to graph. So we have x equals 3 and x equals 1. That is our x-intercept. So let's go ahead and put that on the graph. We have x equals 3, and again, these are just points. X equals 3, 1, 2, 3, and x equals 1. So we have our points. That's where the parabola will cross. The x-axis. Next part, AOS. Let's find the AOS. How do we do that? Well, we learned how to use that equation, negative b over 2a, when you have standard form, but we're using factored form now. So our AOS is the average of the roots. So let's put that down. Find the average of the roots. Those roots are the numbers we just found, right? X equals 3 and x equals 1. All right, so let's go ahead and put 3 plus 1 divided by 2. That's how we find the average, right? We have 2 roots, so that's why we're dividing by 2. So we have 3 plus 1 is 4 divided by 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. So our AOS is x equals 2. Now let's go ahead and put that on our graph here. You know what? I did something wrong here. I just realized. I put my points, I put 1 at positive 3, which is correct. Where's my error here? Right, I put it at negative 1. Where's it supposed to be? It's supposed to be at positive 1. So I'm going to fix mine. Hopefully you saw that. Let's go ahead and fix that. Okay, sorry about that. Now our AOS. Now the trick with the AOS is it should go in the direct middle of your 2 points, right? So, well, look right here. It's x equals 2, and look at that. It goes down the middle of my 2 points. That's what told me something was wrong, because if I draw that line, it wasn't going to be in the middle. It was going to be off. So that's what told me, okay, wait, I think I graphed one of my x-intercepts wrong. So that's the nice thing about doing this, is it's kind of you're kind of self-checking as you're doing it. Okay, so we found our AOS. Now we are going to find our vertex. Okay, because now we don't know, is the point up here, the vertex up here? Is it down here? Is it off the chart or off the graph? We don't even know. So we are going to find that. So what we're going to do is, what do we know x is? Which x are we going to use? These ones or this one? So look right here at this line. We know our vertex is going to be somewhere on the axis of symmetry. So what should we use for x? 2. Very good. So let's go ahead and use 2, which is that AOS, right? So that 2. Now let's plug into our equation. Why? Because it says y equals, and we want to know what y is. So let's plug this in. So I have 2 squared minus 4 times 2 plus 3. So now I have y equals 4 minus 8 plus 3. So negative 4 plus 3, we have negative 1. So now let's put our vertex on there, 2, negative 1. The vertex will always be on the axis of symmetry, your AOS. Let's connect our points. And there we go. Actually, I think I'm going to go back and make mine black. There we go. That looks much better. All right. So we just used factored form to graph this parabola. Let's go on to the next page. All right, same thing. It says try these. Let's go ahead and get factors, our factors here. And what do you recognize? What do we have here? How would we factor? Trial and error or difference of squares? Difference of squares. So we have x plus 2, x minus 2. So what do our x's equal? Right, 2 and negative 2. So I'm going to do x equals 2, x equals negative 2. And then we can put those on our graph. This time I'll be a little more careful. So we have 2 and negative 2. There we go. Just by looking at these 2 points now, what is our AOS going to be? 0, right? We didn't even have to do any math with that. Now, if you don't see that, yeah, you would do negative 2 plus 2 divided by 2. So that'd be 0 over 2, which equals 0. So our AOS is x equals 0. So let's put that on our graph. It's just that it goes right between those 2 x-intercepts. So we have our AOS. Now our vertex. Let's go ahead and get the vertex here. We know our x is 0, right? So let's plug in 0. into that equation. Y equals, again, there it is, right there. Y equals 0 squared minus 4. So y equals -4. So let's go to our graph here and put on 0, -4. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Going to connect those. Remember, your parabola should be round at the bottom or at the vertex, not a point, because it's not an absolute value, right? Okay, number 2, let's try this one. Let's go ahead and factor. Number 2, what kind of factoring can we do here? Right, we have to do greatest common factor here. So we take out that x, and now we have x minus 4. So we can't do greatest or difference of squares because this x right here isn't a square. But we have our 2 factors. Then we set each factor equal to 0. So we get x equals 0 and x equals 4. X equals 4. Now we can go ahead, put our 2 points on that graph. So 0 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now what is our axis of symmetry just by looking at these 2 points? 2, right. So let's go ahead and put our AOS, and we can write x equals 2. And we already know what x is, right? That's our AOS. Okay, let's plug in 2. So y equals, plug in that 2. So 2 squared minus 4 times 2. So we have y equals 4 minus 8. So y equals that -4. So let's go ahead and put in the vertex now. 2, -4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, that does not look good. Okay. Not too bad, right? Okay, let's do the last one together. Let's go ahead and find our factors. What type of factoring are we going to do here? Trial and error, yes. So x and x. So we have our plus and minus. So plus 3 minus 1. So our x-intercepts are what? Right, -3 and +1. So let's go ahead and put those on here. Don't clean up yet. We're almost done. X equals -3. X equals 1. Let's go ahead and put that on our graph. -3, +1. And what is our AOS? Right, -1. That goes right down the middle. So x equals -1. And now let's go ahead and get our vertex here. If we plug in that -1, we get y equals -1 squared plus 2 times -1 minus 3. Okay, go ahead and solve that. So we should get -4. So -1, -4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And go ahead and connect those points. And you have your parabola. So we just finished doing factored form. You will be doing this on your homework now.